So the NBA announced last night their all NBA first, second, and third team selections. Now, obviously, you take an entire pool of the NBA players and you create 3 teams of 5 broken down by every single position. Basically, you have 2 in the backcourt, a point guard, a shooting guard, and 3 forwards. Ideally, that should be small forward, power forward, and center. So it's only 15 guys that make this list, which is even more narrow and even more exclusive than simply making an all-star team, which is about 24. So you're talking about slashing the entire all-star roster by 9 players, which is a lot. Basically, you're taking the 3 best players from every single position. So the NBA announced their list last night. First, want to read all 3 of the teams. So the NBA's all-NBA first team was the Denver Nuggets' Nikola Jokic. Obviously, he is the back-to-back league MVP. Dallas Mavericks' Luka Doncic. Milwaukee Bucks' Giannis Antetokounmpo. Boston Celtics' Jason Tatum. Phoenix Suns' Devin Booker. The second team, and again, I'm going to react after I read all 3. The second team, Philadelphia 76ers' Joel Embiid. Golden State Warriors' Steph Curry. Memphis Grizzlies' Ja Morant. Brooklyn Nets' Kevin Durant. Chicago Bulls' DeMar DeRozan. That's the second team All-NBA. Third team All-NBA. Phoenix Suns' Chris Paul. Atlanta Hawks' Trae Young. Los Angeles Lakers' LeBron James. Toronto Raptors' Pascal Siakam. And the Minnesota Timberwolves' Karl Anthony Towns. So what's difficult about this list, just from a holistic standpoint, is how they break down every single position. Because what we've seen in the NBA, it's kind of been conflated as far as what those players' positions are, because we're playing more and more positionless basketball. So the designated title of point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, that's kind of been mixing and trickling over. There's a lot of blending in of different positions, a lot of ambiguity as to what a certain guy is. What do you call Giannis? Is he a point guard? Is he a forward? Right? So when I first look at this list, what makes it tough is you see a guy like Joel Embiid, who has been relegated to second team All-NBA, despite the fact that he finished as the runner-up to Nikola Jokic for the league MVP. So by those standards, you would say he is the second best player. He's been the second best player in the league this year. But when you look at where he finishes on the All-NBA teams, if you do the math, that's essentially saying that he was the 6th best player. The problem is you already have Nikola Jokic in at the center spot. And so if you want to put Joel Embiid in, who are you going to remove from that list from their position? Are you going to say that Joel Embiid was a better quote-unquote power forward than Giannis was this past year? Was Joel Embiid a better small forward than Jason Tatum? Was he a better shooting guard than Devin Booker, or a better point guard than Luka Doncic, right? It's hard to make that claim. All those other guys deserve to be in the position that they are for the position that they play. But unfortunately, you only get 5 guys, so that's why Joel Embiid is second team All-NBA for the second consecutive year. So that's what's really tough, and it's really unfortunate, because the problem is you can't remove any of those guys. I think all those first team nominations and selections are deserving. Luka Doncic, what he's done with the Dallas Mavericks this year, a top 4 seed in the West. Now, obviously, he's backed up that vote by leading Dallas to the Western Conference Finals. Phoenix Suns obviously had a 60-plus win season. Devin Booker was a huge catalyst behind that. For some stretches of the season without Chris Paul, he was looking like a league MVP. And obviously Giannis is Giannis, and he deserves to be on there because he puts up pedestrian 30, 13, and 6 with like 2 blocks every single season the last 5 years. So he deserves to be on there. So now it's looking at the second and the third team selections. And to me, I don't want to say gripe that I have, because all these guys are very much deserving. But the one team that I'm surprised to not see any representatives from is the Miami Heat. And perhaps a guy like Jimmy Butler, who's averaging 21.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, or 6 rebounds, 5.5 assists. It's a little surprising that he's not on this list. Now, it's not because none of these guys from the second or the third team deserve to be on there, because I think that the guards on the second team, John Morant and Steph Curry, there were strong arguments that both of those guys should be on the first team if they didn't miss so much time, especially in John Morant's case. I think that if he played the entirety of the season, he'd be a first team All-NBA selection. Obviously, Steph Curry still had a phenomenal season, second best record in the NBA, averaging 27 points per game. So then you look at DeMar DeRozan for the Bulls. He was garnering MVP votes midway through the season for big stretches of the year for the Chicago Bulls, playing without Zach LaVine. All these guys were injured. He was the one consistent player for Chicago. He deserves to be there. And obviously, you're not going to put Jimmy Butler as a power forward center spot, so I understand why he wasn't on second team. Now, third team is tough because you've got Chris Paul and you've got Trae Young, and I do think that both of those guys deserve to be on there in the backcourt. Chris Paul led the league in assists this year with 11, 14.5 points. Again, he's the ultimate conductor, the ultimate orchestrator in Phoenix. I think that he's almost been viewed as kind of this shadow MVP, kind of playing behind the curtains a little bit of Devin Booker, but a lot of people contend that Chris Paul is the most valuable player on that Phoenix Suns team. So you're not going to remove him. He's had a phenomenal year, and you're seeing and you've seen the impact of him when it comes to winning. Trae Young was an all-star starter, 28 points, 10 assists. The guy is phenomenal, so he deserves to be on there. The Hawks still made the playoffs, so he deserves to be on there. Now you look at LeBron and Pascal Siakam, and for me, I think LeBron, he was just so good, and he put up such good numbers with the Lakers and his cachet. It's hard to truly feel like he doesn't deserve to at least make the third team. I think the one guy that perhaps you can try to finesse Jimmy Butler for instead of is perhaps Pascal Siakam. That's not to take away anything from Siakam. I really love Spicy P, what he's done in Toronto, especially the second half of the year. But he didn't make the All-Star team. And truthfully, I think you could remove Pascal Siakam, move LeBron James to power forward spot, and maybe you could claim that Jimmy Butler is the quote-unquote small forward to make that third team. Because, again, the Heat had the best record in the Eastern Conference this year, and it's just surprising that they don't have any representatives on there. But, again, outside of that, I think that it's a really good list. There aren't any glaring omissions, in my opinion, outside of perhaps Jimmy Butler, but I don't think it's glaring. I think there's just a strong argument to make for him. But no glaring choices that are either on there that I'm surprised about or that I would balk at, or guys that have been left off. So it's difficult to do, but I do think that perhaps a member of the Miami Heat could have been on there, but still a good list any way that you slice it.